taken the insights you've garnered from your work with the Mindset Index, the world that we're looking to foster, and the complexity of cities in particular, what would your top 3 words of advice be for a leader in the city setting?
Well, if I just sort of run through my mind some of the dimensions of the Mindset Index there. The first is perhaps to balance the idea of voluntarism and determinism. Voluntarists believe typically in choice, determinists believe in conditioning. And the reality is that cities are an interesting tension between these two dimensions. Cities give us choices. I've pushed hard for that idea. Cities are also infrastructures within which we move, and in a sense, therefore, determine our movement. So I would say that's, to answer your question, one of the top 3 I would say you have to navigate. The second is where you get your knowledge from and what you think valid knowledge is. And here we distinguish between, forgive the technical language, but distinguish between so-called solipsism, the idea that I have the knowledge. Think about the city fathers I described earlier. I already know everything that is to be known, and I will just execute this in my strategic plan, versus a more altruistic sourcing of wisdom and finding that from citizens. And then I would say the idea related to those first 2, perhaps the idea of meritocracy as opposed to benevolent autocracy. No city leader wants to think of himself, of course, as a mere autocrat. But surprisingly, we still find many leaders with a father-like approach to decision-making on behalf of stakeholders.
Right.
And I think when you appreciate those talents more, you have much more of a meritocratic approach. That doesn't mean survival of the fittest, but it means not only celebrating those with merit, but also providing citizens with what they merit, what they deserve.
Yeah. So in summary, the three top takeaways, or the 3 words of advice, would be to be cognizant of the difference between determinism and choice. You may have more choice than you think. The second is be open to learning. You don't necessarily have all the knowledge, and the knowledge that you do have might not be great. And the third is the notion of meritocracy. Let the system, if you like, speak to you, and let the merit of an idea or an individual or community speaks for itself, as opposed to being more autocratic, or I suppose one of the worst forms of the opposite of meritocracy is cronyism.
Yes, indeed.
Morne, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. We've gone way over time. I really appreciate it.
I really loved talking to you, Dominic. Thank you for your great questions.
And where do we get hold of the Mindset Index?
It's available online. You can find it on LinkedIn, I think is perhaps the best place to do it. And there's a number of videos also available on YouTube.